Sometimes the universe isn't silent. Sometimes it's waiting. For centuries, humanity looked up at the sky and found silence. Until one night, the silence changed. An orbital telescope detected an optical flash coming from an orange dwarf located 300 light-years away. It was brief, sharp, isolated. At first, it was filed away as an anomaly, but the next day, at the exact same time, the flash returned, and the next day as well. For 7 consecutive days, the star emitted brief pulses at perfectly regular intervals. Always the same sequence, always the same duration, always the same intensity. These were not random flares. There were no chaotic variations. There was no noise. It was a pattern. Observatories on Earth and in the lunar colonies confirmed the signal. The analyses ruled out instrumental interference. Astrophysical models could not reproduce the phenomenon using known natural processes. On the 7th day, the emission ceased. Without transition, without fading, without explanation. The star returned to its usual behavior, as if nothing had happened. But something had already changed. Because in that very orbital region, spectroscopic studies detected a gas giant accompanied by several moons. One of them was located in the habitable zone, similar in size to Earth, a dense atmosphere, preliminary indications of liquid water, a potentially habitable system. And for exactly 7 days, from that very spot in the sky, someone or something had been transmitting a structured signal. The debate ceased to be technical. It became existential. Was it a test, an experiment, a greeting, or a warning? The signal did not return, but the doubt was now irreversible. After the 7th day, the star fell silent. Months passed, then years. No new pulses, no variations. No hidden patterns in the cosmic background. Models continued to try to explain it as an unknown natural phenomenon. Some researchers argued that it was an extremely rare stellar oscillation. Others spoke of interference not yet understood. Over time, the extraterrestrial hypothesis lost traction. The signal was filed away. An interesting anomaly, an open case, nothing more. Humanity moved on. On Earth, the usual crises made headlines. On the Moon, the colonies grew slowly, establishing themselves as industrial and scientific outposts of the home planet. Space exploration continued, but always within the limits of the solar system. The star 300 light-years away ceased to be a priority. Until deeper questions began to arise. Not about the signal, about us. If that moon was truly habitable, did it make sense to remain confined to a single world? The idea of travel wasn't born of fear. It was born of possibility. For generations, the signal was debated in universities, in strategic forums, in prospective simulations. With no new transmissions to analyze, the mystery ceased to be urgent. But it never ceased to be unsettling. And as nearly 2 centuries passed, technology reached a turning point. Fusion energy became stable. Orbital engineering, routine. Biotechnology enabled long-duration travel with genetic and metabolic control. For the first time, going was not impossible. The big question returned, but reframed. It was not, what was that signal? It was, do we dare to find out? The debate divided humanity. Some argued that traveling toward an unknown origin was reckless. If the signal had been artificial, it could also have been a trap. Others maintained that staying put was the greatest risk of all. A civilization that does not explore eventually stagnates. For decades, the discussion was political, scientific, and philosophical, until it ceased to be so, and it became a decision. The decision didn't come with a grand speech or a symbolic date. It came after decades of debate. An international consortium, backed by Earth's major powers and the lunar colonies, approved the most ambitious project ever conceived. An interstellar expedition to the system where, 2 centuries earlier, the pulse had been detected. Officially, it was a scientific mission. Unofficially, it was something deeper. It wasn't just about studying a potentially habitable planet. It was about determining whether humanity should remain confined to a single world. The obstacle wasn't technical, it was ethical. What if the signal had been a warning? What if getting closer was an irreversible mistake? The doubts didn't disappear. They simply stopped holding back progress. Three ships were approved, designed to operate together, but capable of surviving separately. They were not mere vehicles. They were self-sustaining habitats, capable of sustaining entire generations during a prolonged journey. Construction took decades in orbital shipyards on the Moon, where reduced gravity allowed for the assembly of colossal structures. When they were ready, humanity had no answers, only a question that had remained unresolved for 200 years. Once the ships were ready, the most delicate process of all began. Not the launch, the selection. Each ship would carry 2,500 people. Not just scientists and engineers, but entire communities. Doctors, educators, biologists, pilots, artists, technicians, and entire families. It wasn't about sending a mission. It was about sending humanity. The process took years. Millions volunteered. Only a fraction was chosen. Genetic diversity, psychological balance, and social compatibility became variables as important as technical training. Criticism was quick to follow. Some accused the project of being elitist. Others considered it an escape disguised as progress. But the final lists were published. And for the first time in generations, the destination ceased to be theoretical. It had names. It had faces. It had a date. The first few months were marked by adjustment. Artificial gravity established routines. Light cycles simulated sunrises and nights. The three ships moved forward in formation, connected by beams of laser communication that exchanged data in real time. The journey was not fast. It was steady, a measurable fraction of the speed of light, enough to cross the void over the course of generations. Some crew members entered suspended animation, preserved for future stages of the journey. Others remained awake. Tasked with maintaining the systems, educating those born on board, and overseeing social stability. Because the greatest risk was not technical, it was human. Living together for decades in a closed environment demanded more than just engineering. It required psychological balance, unspoken agreements, continuous adaptation. The first generations born on the ships grew up without ever seeing the sky of Earth. For them, the universe was inside. Curved corridors, hydroponic gardens, windows showing motionless stars. Society began to transform slowly. Priorities shifted. so did identities. And meanwhile, the destination system remained there, distant, silent. No new signals, no confirmation. As the years went by, some began to wonder if it had all been an illusion magnified by time. If the original signal had been nothing more than a statistical anomaly turned into a myth. But the ships kept moving forward, because even if the pulse meant nothing, the journey itself meant everything. The first few months were marked by adjustment. Artificial gravity established routines. Light cycles simulated sunrises and nights. The three ships moved forward in formation, connected by beams of laser communication that exchanged data in real time. The journey was not fast. It was steady. A measurable fraction of the speed of light, enough to cross the void over the course of generations. Some crew members entered suspended animation. Preserved for future stages of the journey. Others remained awake, tasked with maintaining the systems, educating those born on board, and overseeing social stability. Because the greatest risk was not technical, it was human. Living together for decades in a closed environment demanded more than just engineering. It required psychological balance, unspoken agreements, continuous adaptation. The first generations born on the ships grew up without ever seeing the sky of Earth. For them, the universe was inside. Curved corridors, hydroponic gardens, windows showing motionless stars. Society began to transform slowly. Priorities changed. Identities changed as well. And all the while, the destination system remained there, distant and silent. No new signals, no confirmation. As the years passed, some began to wonder if it had all been an illusion amplified by time. If the original signal had been nothing more than a statistical anomaly turned into a myth. But the ships kept moving forward, because even if the pulse meant nothing, the journey already meant everything. The tension didn't arise suddenly. It was gradual. After years of stability, the first serious disagreements began. One group proposed reducing the number of people in suspended animation to optimize resources. Others warned that altering the demographic balance could jeopardize the mission's future. The debate wasn't heated. It was silent. Lengthy meetings, conflicting projections, contradictory reports. The debate over suspended animation was never fully resolved. The system continued to function, but the doubt remained. Because those sleeping bodies were not just biological reserves. They were part of the mission's future. Waking them at the wrong moment could change everything. And while that debate continued to hang over the crews, another tension began to resurface. The pulse. For most of those born during the journey, that signal was little more than an ancient story. Something that happened centuries ago and never happened again. And that was unsettling. Because if that signal had never meant anything, then no one really knew why they were crossing the void. For decades of travel, the pulse remained silent. Until it returned. It wasn't a shrill alarm or a system failure. It was an automatic notification on the astronomical observation panel. A variation in the optical spectrum. At first, the technician on duty thought it was interference, but the pattern repeated itself. Once, twice, 3 times, and then a complete sequence. It didn't come from just any point in the sky. It came from the same system, the same orange dwarf. The same sector that had remained silent for 2 centuries. The pulse hadn't just returned. It was clearer, more stable, more intense than the original. The 3 ships received the signal with barely a millisecond's difference. The systems automatically compared it with the historical record stored since launch. Match. 100%. The bridge remained silent for several seconds. No one spoke, because they all understood the same thing at the same time. It hadn't been an illusion. It hadn't been a mistake. And most unsettling of all, the signal had reactivated while they were already on their way. Over the centuries, the ships ceased to resemble the societies that had departed from Earth. The old political structures gradually disappeared. Governing closed communities for generations required something different. Important decisions were made through rotating councils among the 3 ships, supported by simulation systems that projected the consequences of each choice. The meaning of individual property also changed. In a limited ecosystem, almost everything was shared. Energy, food, space. Stability depended on balance. The generations born during the journey did not consider themselves Earthlings. They considered themselves crew. To them, the ships were not a means of transportation. They were their world, a world that had learned to live in balance for centuries. But now, for the first time in its entire history, that balance was about to change. Because the destination that had given rise to the journey was finally within reach. When calculations confirmed that there were 5 years left before reaching the system, the perception of time changed. For decades, the destination had been an abstract coordinate. Now it was a specific point on the navigation screens. The pulse remained active, constant, regular, unchanging. It no longer came as a surprise, but it didn't bring peace of mind either. The ships began preparations for approach. First contact protocols were reviewed, though no one really knew what they might encounter. Part of the crew, in suspended animation, was awakened. The classrooms filled with intensive sessions on the star system. The youngest, born in transit, looked at the maps with a mixture of curiosity and something akin to vertigo. For them, Earth was history. That planet 300 light years away was the future. The simulations showed a stable moon with a breathable atmosphere under controlled conditions, a possible world. But the signal was still there. 5 years weren't enough to change course, nor to ignore it. When the ships entered the system, the star ceased to be a distant speck and became a real sun, illuminating the sensors. The gas giant appeared first, a ringed colossus spinning slowly in the darkness, and orbiting it, almost inconspicuous by comparison, the moon. Ariel. The 3 ships began the orbital insertion maneuver, while the first probes descended toward the surface. For centuries, they had been preparing for this moment. The onboard gravity had been gradually adjusted to match that of the destination world. The light cycles had also changed over time. The generations born on the ships had grown up adapted to that new rhythm. Ariel was not an unknown planet. It was the place for which they had been prepared. The probes confirmed what had for so long been only a simulation. Vast oceans, stable continents, a breathable atmosphere under controlled conditions, a possible world. Weeks later, the landings began. The first expeditions walked on ground that no human had ever set foot on before. The air was thick, with a faint mineral scent. The sky had a deeper hue, tinged by the orange light of the star. For a time, everything seemed to be working. The first settlements sprang up near the oceans. Experimental crops thrived. The life support systems functioned exactly as they had been designed. It seemed the mission had succeeded. But the planet wasn't as empty as it seemed. The first few weeks passed without incident. The exploration teams expanded the radius of the settlements, while sensors mapped continents, oceans, and geological formations. It was during one of those expeditions that the first anomaly appeared. A geologist detected a crystalline formation that didn't fit the planet's geological models. It was too regular, too symmetrical. At first, it was thought it might be an unknown mineral phenomenon. But it wasn't the only one. As the explorations progressed, other similar structures began to appear. Some buried under meters of sediment, others barely emerging from the surface, as if they had been there for centuries. They weren't ruins. They looked like nodes, scattered across the entire planet. Analysis revealed something even more unsettling. Those structures were not inactive. They were emitting energy, a silent network spanning continents and oceans, a technology so ancient that no one knew who had built it or why. But someone on the orbital analysis team began to suspect something, because the nodes weren't isolated. They all pointed to the same spot in the sky, the small satellite orbiting Ariel, the source of the pulse. The expeditions began to follow the network of structures. Each node seemed connected to the next, forming a system that spanned entire continents. They were operational. In a remote region of the southern hemisphere, the sensors detected something different. It wasn't glass or metal. They were geometric shapes too large to be natural. The probes descended. They found ruins, not cities. Remains of collapsed structures, fragments of unknown constructions scattered for miles, and bones that were clearly not human. Analysis showed that this species had lived there for centuries. They had built settlements and exploited the planet for a long time. But something happened. There were no signs of war, no weapon impacts, no traces of a conflict among them. What did appear in the records was something else. An extreme spike in energy on the planet's network. All the nodes had been activated at the same time. The conclusion began to become clear. That civilization did not go extinct by accident. The planet itself wiped them out. At first, they thought the planet's network merely regulated energy and climate. Then the changes began. Some colonists started hearing impulses they couldn't explain. They weren't sounds. They were commands. Sensations that urged them to move, to build, to keep the nodes active. Those who spent too much time near the network changed. Slow mutations. The nervous system reacted to the planet's impulses. Their bodies began to adapt. The investigation ended when they found the wreckage of another ship. It had arrived centuries earlier. Its logs contained the same signal that had drawn humanity there. Then they understood. The pulse wasn't a message. It was a lure. The planet emitted it when it detected intelligent life nearby. The signal attracted new species. When they arrived, the network began to control them. The previous civilization had gone through the same thing. First, they obeyed. Then, they changed. And when they ceased to be useful, they disappeared. Now it was happening again. "300 years later, the descendants of the first colonists no longer call themselves humans. They call themselves Aurelians. Their bodies have changed. Their DNA and brains are no longer entirely human. Their nerves respond to impulses from the planet's nodes, and they no longer live as a civilization, but as a colony, much like a swarm. There are no governments. There are no permanent leaders. Entire groups organize themselves around the nodes, which emit periodic pulses. Some build. Others maintain the network. Others explore. Roles change over the course of a lifetime, as happens in some animal societies, where each individual fulfills the function the system requires. No one gives orders. The planet coordinates. The ancient cities disappeared generations ago. Now there are strange structures growing around the nodes, like living colonies integrated with the network. Earth is just a distant memory. Until one day a signal arrives. It comes from deep space. The signature is clear. Origin, Earth. The message is short. A single line. We have received your message. We have been waiting for it for centuries. We are following the signal. We will arrive soon.